Hello. It is July 7th, 2022, and welcome to the S Rank Media Club. Today we've got discussion on Free Guy and our ranking of that. We're going to get into discussion of loot boxes, gambling in games, and mobile game profits. Then we're going to have a little bit of a conversation about the Final Fantasy Remake. And then we've got some other news topics lined up from the past week. So Quinn, how was your week?
Not bad, not bad. Not a lot happening with the long weekend, so I played a lot of Valorant this weekend, trying to rank up with the new rank structure in place now. So it's kind of we're seeing
What's
where everybody
the
falls.
What's their new structure?
So they added a new rank set called Ascendant between Diamond and Immortal.
Okay.
So it's at the top, kind of at the top of the rank structure.
Mhm.
And I wasn't really sure how that was going to affect, the kind of the stratification of all the different ranks.
Yeah.
And it turns out that pretty much anything below diamond, you're getting pushed up about a rank and a half to two ranks. So they made the ends very, the percentage of people at the top and the bottom is a lot smaller than it was before. So,
Yeah. It's like a bigger
um,
bell.
right.
True.
So kind of interesting to see what's happening with that because I peaked silver 3
Mhm.
and now I'm gold 1 right now, which I think is kind of right around silver 2 from last
I
season or
gotcha.
last act. So
I gotcha.
um, I guess we'll see kind of how the ranked plays out and see where everybody kind of lands. There's been a
Mhm.
little bit of data coming out about it so far.
Mhm.
That's kind of where I was getting my estimations, but yeah, so it's just something to look out for.
Gotcha.
Um, Last Saturday, or last week, I had talked about this VR experience that me and my fiance were going to do, and we did go and do that on Saturday night, and it was a lot of fun. It
So yeah,
was,
walk us through the whole kind of thing.
yeah. So it's you only are in the game for 30 minutes, which
Mhm.
initially we were kind of like, oh, like that's not that long. Like we're avid gamers, we know like how fast
Right.
time goes when you're playing
Yeah.
video games, especially when it's something you enjoy.
Yeah.
So we were a little worried that it was going to be too long, but that didn't end up being the case. But I'll get to that in a second. So we got there, and then they walked us through kind of what we were doing. You get a backpack, which
Mhm.
has your VR headset, and then your headphones. It was a what's the company that has the snakes? I'm blanking on it
The snakes.
as
Um,
their emblem.
Razor?
Yeah, Razer. I don't know why I couldn't think of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
they had Razer headsets. I
Mhm.
don't know what kind of VR headsets they had, but um, there was 8 of us at once. So
Okay.
we picked a game where it was essentially like zombie survival,
Okay, that sounds
and
cool.
so you just fight waves of zombies, kind of like Call of Duty, in a way. And there's different traps, and there's like you can like shoot barrels that'll explode and stuff like that.
So
So
how's the environment? So you're like in a VR environment and then you can see all the other players essentially
yeah,
there too. Is there like
yeah.
a thing, like a safety thing, like, hey, don't hit the other people?
Yes, yes. That was one of the biggest things was whenever you got too close to another person, it would show up in the middle
Oh,
of your screen and it would
oh,
kind of give you a reference point of how close you were to them and how
yeah.
close they were to you and essentially give you a warning like, oh, like you need to back up. There's a person here. Um, and then
Was
there
it?
was the walls too, because we were in like kind of a rectangular room. And
Mm,
so you had a little bit of freedom to move. Um, but if you got too close to the wall, it would actually pause the game. So
oh,
for
dang.
everybody, so it would pause the game for everybody, and then
Oh,
you have to back up.
how close
Um,
could you? Was it? It was. It's probably pretty cautious with how close you can get. I'm guessing.
I think so. I
Yeah,
mean, you
because
don't want to deal
it's
with
the
that liability,
liability,
right?
right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Um, so initially when we got there, they explained all the different, parts of the gun, and then we went in there and we actually got to like you made like a gamer tag or whatever. So then you shot your gamer tag, and then you stood on these kind of like virtual reality pedestals, and then it
Huh?
put us into the game.
Yeah.
And then the first game, it was like this weird like wasteland like zombie survival, so we were essentially just surviving waves and waves of zombies that were coming from all different places. And so kind of everybody had their own little window, I guess, where zombies
Okay.
were coming from, and you could switch between 4 different weapons, I believe, or maybe
Okay.
3. So you had it was like a AK type rifle,
Hmm.
like a shotgun, but it was like a dual a dual shot. It wasn't like a double barrel.
Gotcha.
Maybe it was a double barrel, but
Yeah.
um, and then a crossbow. So I didn't
Mhm.
use the crossbow very much because I didn't think it was very useless or useful because you had to reload every bolt. But
Sure.
um, you what I did and what I found the easiest was after my AK would run out of ammo, I just switched to the shotgun.
So I guess how in depth was the VR game experience then? Did you find it to be too thin, or did it feel like there was actually some like depth of content to what you were playing?
I I think for what it was, I think it did very well. Obviously, the graphics weren't spectacular,
Yeah.
but it still felt like I was there and,
Mhm.
I was enjoying myself and it felt like I was, actually shooting the zombies and I was scared of the zombies coming at me.
Right.
Not like overly scared, but like
Yeah. Well, because the VR thing I've done before was a game where you would cast spells and stuff, but then you were on a pillar and the ground just opened up beneath you and you're just standing on the pillar. And I kind of have a slight fear of heights. So I was like, oh shit.
oh yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
no, that kind of VR seems really interesting. I mean, if they could, I don't know, almost perfect it further, but it's like a thing that would be fun if you could play it for long periods of time in like a full game sense.
Yeah. Going back to that length of time,
Mhm.
after a half an hour you do get very tired
Yeah.
because you have to hold up the gun.
Right.
So you're constantly holding the gun up and you're moving as well.
Yeah.
Whereas, when you're playing a regular video game, you're kind of just sitting there. So that's
Right.
something I think that's when my fiance and I finished, we both got out and we were sweaty and like our arms hurt from holding the gun for so long. We're like, okay, I can see why a half an
So
hour is a good length of time.
yeah, how long until we get this in like this gets kind of simplified down into a form that can be worn to where this is like your exercise class. You can just go do some VR for an hour.
I think it's probably close, honestly. I mean, you obviously you need a strong enough PC to run however many
Right.
VR headsets and actually load up a server and stuff like that
Hmm.
with decent graphics. I
Sure.
think it's more of a cost thing, right?
Right. It's almost like somebody's got to develop a way to make it work in like a larger operation sense. Cause that would be like a cool way to get your workout in is go
Right.
play some zombie fight for an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, gotcha. That's
Yeah. It
cool.
was fun though. We played 2 games. The first game you didn't have to reload, and then
Uh-huh.
the second game was like it was like a military option or operation where we were
Okay.
shooting zombies that were coming at us. So,
Yeah.
um, I think I would have liked to be able to move a little bit more because I felt
Right.
like I was kind of confined to my own bubble because I didn't want to run in the wall or I didn't want to run into the
Sure.
person next to me.
Yeah.
So
So it'd be like
we
cool
were
if you could do something like that with like 2 or 3 people to have like more space.
right, yeah.
Mhm.
And maybe we do that in the future, but I
Yeah.
know they do have a Far Cry game
No,
as
gotcha.
well, and I'm not sure what you do in that, but I'm assuming that's a little more movement based, just from knowing what Far Cry is. But yeah, so a lot of fun. Would recommend it. It's called Zero Latency. If anybody has it around them, the only one I know of is in the Dallas area, but I looked on their website. They have it in multiple countries around the world, and I think they're continuously expanding. It doesn't seem like you need a lot of work to get it set up. You
Mhm.
just need to buy the equipment, find a room that fits the right dimensions, and then obviously run the software and all of that and no overhead. But
Ooh. So
um,
I could just, I just need a big enough room. I just need to buy a big barn and I could just play this.
well, we played. It was like a strip mall, so it's like you don't really need that much room. It reminded me a lot of like Zap Zone. If you've ever been to
Oh,
Zap
yeah,
Zone,
yeah, yeah. Laser tag.
right? Exactly. So we'll see. We'll probably go back and try it. It's a little expensive. I think it was like $50 a person for a half an hour. So it's not
Sure.
something you're gonna do like every week, but it's definitely something to try. And they have different games, so
Yeah.
we'll probably go back and I'll let you guys know if we do anything
Yeah,
else.
that sounds really cool. If I had one around
Mhm.
here, I'd definitely try that. I have a 3080 now, so I could start getting into VR, and I've been interested, but I've been like waiting. It's always like the next generation is going to be where it hits.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Um, Other than that, I did play a little bit of Fortnite. I re-downloaded Fortnite because I was craving some sort of like shooter game that wasn't tactical.
But
It
you
was
wanted
all
Fortnite.
right.
You couldn't go with any other choice.
I didn't really want to download anything. Nothing else is free. I didn't want to play Warzone. Warzone is kind of I
Yeah,
couldn't bring myself to play it.
I'm past Warzone now too, but
The
I don't
only
know.
other one is Apex, but I would get shit on in Apex because the movement in that game is insane.
There's a lot
It's
of good single player FPS games out there.
like what?
Wolfenstein.
Oh, I did get the Wolfenstein one of them for free on I think
That's
Epic Games.
that's a
You
fun
should have played
game.
that.
Doom, Sniper Elite 5,
Doom. I guess I should have checked
but
that Xbox Game Pass.
there's
I,
a ton on there.
yeah, I should have checked that out. It wasn't too bad. It was interesting to see all the different things that have changed since I played it a while ago.
Yeah.
And I played it on no build mode, so I didn't have to worry about the sweaty kids. But I probably won't play it anytime soon. But it was just kind of something interesting from the week. And then last thing, Rumbleverse versus, I should say, another open beta or open playtest, I guess.
Mhm.
This weekend.
This weekend?
Yeah. I believe starting Saturday through Monday or maybe Friday through Sunday. I don't know,
Yeah,
one of those dates.
I had put my email in, so if I am allowed into this one, I'll give it a try.
Yeah, so I'll probably play it a little bit, see if they, have updated anything, balanced anything, or added any new modes, and get back to you guys next week. So,
I gotcha.
but that's about it.
Yeah.
Kudrow, how was your week?
Not too bad. Pretty low key week, all things considered. Probably the biggest thing I did this week, and I know Colton, you've been investing some time in it as well. I finally played the DLC to Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's been sitting on my PS5 for months.
Yeah.
I finally got around to playing that. Actually, almost made me want to go do a hard mode playthrough of the original game.
Oh, there's a hard mode playthrough.
Yeah, so
I guess I do remember hearing about that. You have to beat the game first.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And then you have like the option of chapter select, so you can kind of go back through with your cleared save data, and you can kind of select the if you want to replay any of the chapters, and then you can select the difficulties for them.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So you get to keep all your materia levels and stuff, and then go play hard mode.
Pretty much.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that's how it worked.
Yeah, so it's kind of like almost like your new game plus function, just with an increased difficulty. Yeah, it's almost exactly like a new game plus, really.
Interesting. Yeah, I've been putting a ton of time into not the DLC, but the base game, which came out on Steam like a week ago. So, but
are you liking it so far?
It's awesome. It's so awesome so far. Like I played Final Fantasy VII, back growing up, and I had played it once within the last 5 years, like half of it, and I like Final Fantasy games. And I'd been waiting. I'm like, when this comes out on PC, I'm going to play it. And then it came out on the Epic Store, and I was like, well, maybe not that much. So I didn't buy it on there. So then when it came to Steam, I was like, you know what? I feel like playing it, bought it the day it came out with the discount. And I played so much of that game over the holiday. I've been having so much fun with that game. And that Final Fantasy VII remake it's like it wouldn't work. Nobody would make that game the way it is. Just like if it was not a remake of Final Fantasy VII, because like they have all these weird fucking mini games that are like kind of referential to like Final Fantasy VII original game that should be dumb, but they're so much fun. Like you do this one where you dance as Cloud, and you have to it basically becomes like a rhythm game. And then there's another one, my favorite one, where you have to do squats. And
yep.
you're pressing buttons to do squats, and then you come back later and it's harder, and you're Tifa instead of Cloud, and you're doing pull-ups. And it's just so fun. Like, and I don't. There's definitely nostalgia involved, but I just can't get over how much fun I'm having with that game. And the way the materia system works is really cool. The combat system is a ton of fun. You
Mhm.
like you're just it's like real time, but then you can pause to use abilities, and then it slows it down to like super slow. So you've basically stopped time, and you can use abilities with any character or swap to any character on your team. And just the way all that stuff comes together, and you start getting faster at it, and it's just a lot of fun. And then it's got your Final Fantasy VII story, and they like kept like they took the blocky character movements from the PS1, and they're like, what if they still had this base of movement, but we upgraded it to like current day? And it's wild. Like you just see him make these movements, and you're like, oh, that's literally the animation from the PlayStation, but they like souped it up to like be a modern thing. And like because on the PlayStation, they had to make all of their movements big and exasperated because they were all blocks, so the graphics weren't
Mhm.
super good. But they just kept that shit for this one, and it's amazing. But yeah, so far I've been having so much fun with that game. I will probably finish it this weekend, I think. Unless it's way longer than I think it is, but I think I'll finish it this weekend probably.
What chapter are you on right now?
14, 15, 14 or 15.
Oh, you'll easily finish it this weekend. There's
Okay.
17 chapters in the main
Okay.
quest line, and
I
then you
thought
have 2 chapters with the integrate DLC. The DLC took me I between 8 and 9 hours to finish.
gotcha.
So I mean, you could probably have the whole thing beaten by the end of the weekend.
Yeah. But at this point, I'm gonna finish it, and I'll come back next week, give my overall thoughts. But man, that game's a lot of fun, and I am definitely looking forward to the sequel whenever I get that in like 3 years.
So is I'm a newcomer to Final Fantasy. I've never played any Final Fantasy games, and are all Final Fantasy games aren't equal, right? Like there's some good ones and there's some bad ones because there's
They're all
17
great,
of them.
Quinn. They've never made a
Yeah,
bad one. um,
Mm,
there's more than 17 if you're counting all the side games, but
gotcha.
um,
yeah, that
yeah, they're. I mean, the mainline ones have a lot of similarities, and they've changed over the years. Like, I mean, you can see similarities in all the battle systems over the years, and you can see evolution of it. But I'd consider each one of them a separate thing if you're talking about like, I don't know how you feel about one or the other.
Gotcha. I'm just curious. I did see you playing all weekend on Discord, though. Every time I open Discord,
Yeah,
Voltron was
playing.
playing
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, the only other thing I played a bit of was I was playing more Hollow Knight. And I got to the final boss in Hollow Knight. Um, and I think I came pretty close to beating him once, but so I still need to beat him. But after that, I got to I started doing some of the side quests in there and the DLC stuff. I don't know how far I'll get with that. I'll definitely beat the final boss at some point. But yeah, Hollow Knight still sits at an A for me, but I do
Gotcha.
like it a lot. Yeah.
mhm.
Anything else for you this week, Kudro?
I mean, not really. I mean, as I said, it's pretty uneventful week, all things considered.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll move into our weekly group media. So over the past week, we all watched Free Guy discussion, or we all watched Free Guy, and we're going to discuss it here. Hopefully, some of you out there watched along with us. But so Free Guy, Ryan Reynolds is the main character, and his name is Guy, and he is an NPC character in a game. And then through the power of hot women, he is able to ascend beyond that, and that's kind of the whole story there.
You can give a little more, can't you?
I'm about to say, that feels really reductionist.
I mean, he's not wrong, but I don't feel like it was that bad. Was it?
I don't. Okay, so a lot of the concepts in the movie I liked. I thought a lot of the the like video gamey NPC character stuff was really cool. But then it would do these other things that I found super kind of irritating. Um, like there's all it wants to put all these like 5-second music cuts in there for like a laugh. And it's like where he goes to jump on the wrecking ball and then he misses they play the wrecking ball song and then he misses it and they play that Mariah Carey song. I guess the
Right.
Mariah Carey one's okay. They're doing a callback there with it, but it just felt like it was trying to get so much cheap, low hanging fruit for the jokes, and the way it makes fun of streamers and gamers feels like 10 years too late. It just feels like if you're gonna make fun of streamers, you got to do a little more depth at this point than what they did. It feels very like surface level making fun of streamers. And when it's this movie, if you don't play video games at all, I'm not sure the initial concept might be take you a while to figure out. So like if you're doing it for that level of people who understand video games, and then you're not really getting any depth on streamers. I mean, they got famous streamers, but then they're just like, hey, I'm a streamer. And then they all say the same thing in 5 clips. And then you get your overblown villain from the company who's also a cartoon character.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you guys think? I didn't love it.
I thought it was good. I thought it was ambitious. I think for some of the reasons you're talking about, because of how small the kind of that area is, right? For the general population at least. Like, if you game, I think, and you know the streamers and stuff like that, you understand it very well. But I think that's always a struggle when you're going to make a video game movie. How are you going to get all of the audience members to understand what's going on, to see all these IP drops that you've added in and all these streamers, like you said, that they added in. And
Right.
I think they did do a little too much, like you were saying, where they were just trying to grab as much.
Yeah. How many times can we put Pokemon in here?
She was only there like 3 times, but but yeah, like you said, they were all kind of saying the same thing. Who was it? Septic was in there too. Ninja was in there. I'm trying to think of who else. But but they did drop like a lot of IP stuff in there. Like they had Star Wars. They did Portal.
The Star Wars dropped it for me. Once the whole lightsaber thing, I was just like, what? Why? I think I have a problem with over referencing things, and I think it's really popular in like pop culture movies at this time, and I can't stand most of it because I feel like most of it's done without any reason. Like in this movie, he says, "What you talking about, Willis?" Why does he say that? What is the connection there? That's what's it from? Different Strokes? Like, if you're gonna make some kind of thing like that, have some kind of connection or reason. It's just like they're just throwing as much shit at a wall as they possibly can. And like I feel like I'm being treated like a toddler when they do shit like this to me. I'm like, okay, oh, you got a lightsaber. Well, this is a great movie now.
Right.
But I don't know. Yeah. I feel like I've become really cynical about this kind of thing in movies, and I don't know when it happened, but it irks me so much when I see it overdone. And that's but then there were concepts about this movie I liked. Like I loved the getting the glasses on and seeing the UI, and then like the leveling up stuff was cool. The character interaction was interesting. I didn't hate that, like where he's like an NPC and then like she's a human character, and that stuff's good. I think the other stuff kind of took me out of it a little bit and soured my taste. Which maybe is a flaw in my reviewing of movies. But yeah.
Yeah, it was one that Ryan Reynolds really couldn't save, which I think that's a lot of the times is his reason for being there. But I was just gonna let me run through like kind of a broader plot line of what goes on.
Walk us through it. Let's do it.
So it starts off with Ryan Reynolds. He's the NPC, like Colton said, and then come to find out, he's in a video game. He works at a bank, so since he's an NPC, he just goes to the bank, works, and goes home, and repeat the cycle essentially.
Yeah, he's in a loop.
Right. And so then we find out outside the game is called Free City, which to me it was literally just GTA 5, just kind of a ripoff. So GTA 5, but obviously they can't use GTA 5 as their game. So it's called Free City, and it's essentially all these real world gamers can do all these missions. They can kill all the NPCs. They can customize their character. They can shoot anybody. Like they gain money, and then you can customize your person and buy a house and buy vehicles. So when it comes down to it, really is just GTA 5, and that's kind of the base for the movie. Come to find out, there's these two developers outside that essentially gave the rights to the game that they created to Tsunami, which is kind of a play on, I think, Konami, right? Games.
Oh, I didn't.
It's
Yeah,
like,
maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Basically an evil gaming megacorp is kind of the
right.
idea.
And so this guy, they can't prove it, but they know he took their code and essentially made Free City with it, and then lied about it. And so they're trying to bring him down, and essentially get their game back. And so come to find out, like Colton was saying, Ryan Reynolds kind of wakes up because he was programmed by Keys is his name, one of the developers of the game, to want a woman, like his dream girl. And so he finally sees his dream girl, which is happens to be the other developer who's in the game looking for, secrets. And he falls in love, and it kind of breaks his NPC loop. So now he's all like, I can make decisions for myself. Like he's not stuck in that loop of getting up out of bed and going to work. Now he like wants to go find this woman. Turns out he ends up taking somebody's a real gamer's glasses or sunglasses, which allows him to see the UI. And so he just keeps gaining more and more knowledge and confidence, and he becomes this personality, this gaming personality, essentially that's recognized across the world. So he's this mysterious blue shirt guy that's like doing good in the game, and everybody loves him. And so these developers essentially use him to try and find the secret area within the game that proves that this is their game. And when you water it down, it's really just a love story. It's like he falls in love with her, and then she gives him a kiss, and it gives him the strength to move forward, and there's a happy ending. And that's really what it is. And then there's all these different IP things thrown in there. Like you said, music's thrown in there.
Yeah.
They put an unfinished piece NPC in there named Dude. That's like Ryan Reynolds on steroids. But yeah,
did you guys like the music in this? I didn't care for the music track overall. I felt like it felt like cheap to me. None of the music worked for me. I mean, in this whole movie.
I mean, I like what's it called, Fantasy by Mariah Carey. I like that song, so I thought it was a decent choice. But
yeah,
like you said, the Wrecking Ball and then all the other music.
That
really,
I guess like the score of the movie, kind of too.
Oh yeah,
I didn't find a lot of the score in it to be very good.
I didn't really, focus on that. I was more focused on what the characters were saying, and every time they would say something like pretty cringy, I'm like, oh. I see what you're trying to do, but no. There was some funny things where like somebody was teabagging an NPC in the background. That gave me a good laugh. But like, I think it comes down to they tried to just throw way too much into this movie, and it didn't work.
Well, I mean, you had talked about like the lightsaber. Like, I just don't understand why. Like, I feel like it would have been a cooler thing if like it was like some kind of like, I don't know, epic loot that he found, as opposed like, why is a lightsaber the thing that you're referencing in here? Like, if you had referenced something that's much more ingrained in video game culture, like I understand Star Wars is nerd culture, but it just seems like a big reach to like lightsaber. Like, it's like the whole idea was they in like the meeting. Hey guys, what if we put a lightsaber in there?
I was just about to say that.
I do love how you're so focused on the lightsaber and not Captain America's shield, which also made an appearance there.
I
Right.
might have.
I
Yeah, I
literally
guess
feel like
okay.
it's just
You're
Disney
right. I
showing off
forgot
its
about that.
IPs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and one thing I did like Channing Tatum. This how he's the streamer guy when he meets Guy and he gets really excited. But
Yeah,
that
that
was
was kind of weird how sexual he was getting. I like kind of got it, but I was
Yeah.
like, they're going a little too far with it. But I
Yeah.
think I think the lightsaber and stuff like that is more of just they're trying to keep the audience that maybe isn't gamers within the movie, because that's
Mhm.
like something that's pretty universal that still connects back to gaming but is kind of overall a cultural thing. So like
Gotcha.
Marvel, lightsaber, the wrecking ball, like all those different things are like outside cultural references that can help the movie essentially
Wait, is
by
this a
keeping
Disney movie?
Yeah, it's a
uh
Disney movie. That's why I said like they have
Oh,
they're
I
showing
was
off
gonna say
their
this.
IPs. You know?
that's
Yeah.
why they're all there. I just,
Yeah.
God damn it. I'm a
But
bit. I feel like in the end, I'm a bit just grossed out by its. I don't know what you. I need to think of a word for what that is, where you shove as many references as you can. I feel like Space Jam did a lot of that too. Space Jam 2, sorry.
okay, I've never
Like,
seen it, but
not great. I watched it in the background one time, and man, they just cram every possible reference they can in there. It's like, what do we
yeah.
own?
Right. I would say I would still recommend it just to watch it for a good, like Colton said, either background movie or just something to watch that, it's kind of funny to see all these different references and see kind of a gaming movie that takes a different take, because I think the idea of it is actually really smart.
Mhm.
It's kind of more current, like with AI and how the AI is becoming sentient and that sort of thing. And so I think that's a really cool idea of how they um, weave that into the plot. But if you're looking for something that really like draws you in and like gets you satisfied at the end, I wouldn't say this is for you. This is
Yeah.
more of like a surface level movie that gives you all the different references that you could ask for and has Ryan Reynolds in it. So
I do agree with you. That was like that part of it was good. Kudra,
um,
what's your overall take on this one?
I mean, I might be a little bit
He
higher on this
loves
than
it.
you are.
He loves
I
it.
actually kind of like this movie.
All
But
right,
I mean,
tell us the great things. I'm here to listen.
I don't know. I mean, like I hear you having problems with cutaway gags. I don't have as much of a problem with those, but because I mean, the one cutaway gag specifically that pointed out was like, when he pulls out Captain America's shield, and then it just pulls away to Chris Evans for looking at his screen, like, what the hell? Yeah, I mean, I felt like the comedy with this game was mostly on point. I
Yeah.
do think there were a lot of interesting concepts in this movie, even if they weren't necessarily as thoroughly fleshed out as maybe they could have been. Like,
Okay.
I actually really do think the idea of, because like the programmer made this NPC who's in love, and they're both in love with the same woman. I mean, that probably could have been gotten a little bit more fleshed out, but I do think it's a fascinating concept to introduce.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, just like what you said, there are problems with it. Like, I know with the writing, like one of the things that they went into like great detail about with the movie was how the programming had expanded, and then they did the hard server reset, and then that caused Guy to lose all of his memories of his going-ons with God, why am I so
Millie.
bad with character names? Yeah, Millie. And then he had the whole like 5 minutes where, oh well, I just got to kiss him and get his memories back, which.
Oh, yeah, big problem there. We went over in the movie before this point how there's no keyboard command to do that, and then
Right.
she does it. And I was like, well, you can't do that. That's not. Listen, you can't
Only
just.
NPCs can do that.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, it was just one of those things where it's like this problem got introduced and resolved so quickly. It's almost like, why was it in here in the first place?
Right. Make that a more drawn out kind of thing that happens.
Yeah, but
It didn't work with all the other shit they needed to pack in there to reference all their other IPs. So they had to relegate that to the end. They're like, well,
I'm surprised there was no Deadpool. Or is that Sony?
Well, no,
Deadpool's Disney, right?
Deadpool is
it's Marvel.
Fox because
Oh,
it's now. Well, it was Fox, and then
oh,
Disney bought Fox.
Oh,
But I
right.
believe that was after this movie was made.
wait, what? Deadpool is a Marvel
Oh, okay.
character, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, he's a Marvel character, but
But there's
he.
weird licensing with
Is he
some of
like
them, kind of like
Fantastic
Spider
Four?
Man.
Yeah, I think it's like one of those mutant things where Fox had like all of
Isn't
the.
he an X-Men?
Gosh, don't you wish that Sony had the same deal with Fantastic Four that they have with Spider Man, where they had to make a new Fantastic Four movie like every 3 fucking years? God, that'd be amazing. Oh,
Well, now with
One
Disney actually having Fantastic Four back, we might actually get a good movie of that.
they'll probably put like lightsabers in it or some shit.
what's his name? Krasinski's gonna be Mr. Fantastic, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that was already in Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, spoilers.
Spoilers.
I'm just kidding.
Well,
I haven't seen it, but I don't care that much. My last thing on that, I do love when movies do like, oh, the whole world's watching type of things, like where everybody stops what they're doing and
Oh, yeah.
literally everybody in the world is watching what's going
Yeah.
on, like in the downtown of the city. It's all on the billboards and
Right.
on everybody's TVs, and it's all dramatized. I think that's really funny. But
Okay.
There is one question I wanted to ask you, Colton, because you
Yeah.
mentioned making fun of streamers, and I don't know. I guess I never got the sense that Disney was like making fun of them with this movie.
I not as much. I guess more so a streamer comedy. I'll call it. Like how the Channing Tatum guy. I don't know what the character's name is, but when it goes back to him and his mom's vacuuming the floor, and it's like, well, if he's this super popular streamer, he's probably actually making a bunch of money.
right,
Um,
not that sock.
I guess, yeah, right. It just like treats every streamer like a nerdy 12-year-old level of maturity child when they actually are a character, and then all the other streamers are literally just there to give like 6 words of dialogue that's nearly inconsequential, and then they got 5 more streamers to say the exact same thing. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's not just making fun of them, but I feel like they were trying to like have this aspect of streamers in the movie, and I felt like it wasn't very good. They were like, well, they shouldn't have even been there, or like
Yeah.
pick like 2 or 3 of them, make them better.
I agree with that. I think from my perspective, what they were trying to do was do kind of like a current event type of thing, and use the streamers as like the current events type of way of showing what's going on in the real world, how the gaming culture is reacting. So you have these high profile streamers like Pokemon, however you want to say your name. I'm blanking on the other guy's name. He's pretty big, the British dude, and then Ninja, and then there was one more, I think. But I think that was kind of like their role was to kind of try and make it more realistic. So like try and be like, oh, like if this actually happened in the real world, this is how the streamers would react. Like this is how gaming news would, kind of get passed along, sort of thing. And I think it was a good idea, but like you said, I don't think it was executed great. And so I think that was definitely a miss, but
yeah, and I'm not saying there's somebody out there that's doing great video game movies, but I don't love it. I mean, do you guys want me to give the low score first, or
go ahead.
so I think I was sitting at, halfway through the movie, maybe like a C. But then I felt like it just I got really sick of the lightsaber. I was just like, oh, fuck this. I don't need a lightsaber right here. And D plus. I like that. I like some of the base ideas of the movie in like the entering the game world and the NPC character. And I liked that stuff. It's like they took this base of a good movie and then they took a Disney boardroom to discuss how they can fucking add as much bullshit IP in there as possible and to make it like a friendly Disney movie instead of taking that base concept and making a good movie. But
Yeah.
so D plus is where I'm at on this one.
Okay. You want to go next, Kudro?
Sure. Well, that's it. I I feel like that's too low. I do like this movie. I Even if there are a few things here and there that don't necessarily work for me, I got a few good laughs, which is pretty rare for me in a lot of movies. I think it's a B. I don't think it's too bad. I think it's got some great comedy moments. I think it presents some interesting concepts. I think it's worth a good watch.
Yeah, I definitely agree that I think people should watch it, especially if you're in the gaming and kind of media culture and news and stuff like that, because I think it has a little bit of everything that gets you excited and gives you a good laugh, like Kudro's saying. I think I'm at a C plus. So I think it's something you definitely should watch. Like when I was watching it and Ninja came on the screen, I was like, what the hell? They got Ninja. So there's some of those things that you kind of see first time. You're like, oh, that's cool that they were able to do that and stuff like
Right.
that. But I think as it goes on, it's kind of, it might get a little overdone. But I think it's still something that people would enjoy and watch. So
Yeah.
and it has Steve Harrington. So
Yeah.
I think watch it, but I would say watch it on background, not a primetime viewing.
yeah, I disagree, but anyway.
All right. Next week, our weekly group media experience will be Stranger Things Season 4, Part 2. So we will go in depth with spoilers on Season 4, Part 2. So moving on to gaming and entertainment news topics this week. The big thing I had that I saw Diablo Immortal. There's some stuff coming out about it having a profit of like it was some mass amount of money, but not really the important factor of this. The point is Diablo Immortal is making profits. It's a profitable game that's making money. And this seems to be the story with a lot of these mobile games. But then if you go look at any like gaming media out there, like games journalists, there is a large segment of hate for it. And if you go on Twitter, there's a large segment of hate for this game, and it's just people bashing the game. Also, a lot of them are playing it at the same time. But I can't. It's hard for me to. I feel like there's never any reason discussion about it. It's just people saying has loot boxes is bad, which I'm not saying that Diablo Immortal's structure is great. I haven't played Diablo Immortal, but I've played a ton of games with loot boxes, gambling mechanics, and what I just wonder is like what what's the line because it blew up with loot boxes, but it's not as if that didn't exist in tons of games before, like random chance drops you can buy. I mean, there was less purchasing of it before. So did that come up in relation to once purchasing stuff became more prevalent? Um, because I like in some old games you would play, there would be items that would take a ton of time to get, and you couldn't just get it right away. But now it seems like if people play a game, they play a game for 2 weeks, and they're like, I played this game for 2 weeks and I can't unlock this item. And then you get the other side of the problem where there's a person like, oh, I spent $500 on loot boxes trying to get this item. So then you're running into a side of gambling addiction when you have the pay to get like loot boxes in there. But then on the other side, like to have a long-term game, you have to have items that aren't just accessible immediately. Like there has to be an item like a build up of things to get to. So I think it's a really hard thing, but if you look at Diablo Immortal, it's making money. So what I don't know what the answer is to tell like, oh, don't put Diablo Immortal out because I don't like what it is.
What about Elden Ring?
Elden Ring is
Like
great.
Elden Ring, right? They do it without, like you said, you still have to grind to get the
Oh,
items.
yeah. Yeah, no,
But
Elden Ring's awesome. For sure.
right, so I don't think, and I guess I can't say much about this because I have never played Diablo, and I know it's kind of like a looter game, right? Like you're
Yeah.
constantly
Yeah, if we're
grinding
talking
for
more in the
loot,
lines
right?
of loot games, there's unlockable stuff,
Right.
but
So maybe Elden Ring isn't the best example. That was just something that came to mind when you were talking
yeah,
about grinding for items and stuff like that. But
sure.
um, in terms of loot boxes, the pay to win mechanic, I think, like you said,
Well,
the
there's
gambling addiction, right?
so yeah, and I think I would like to differentiate between pay to win and pay to cosmetic.
Okay,
Um,
so is it cosmetics or is it in-game content that like allows you to play better or do more damage or
So Diablo Immortal, I guess, would be in the category because I believe you can increase stats because you can get gems and stuff. And then like a game like Overwatch, which also was heavily criticized for loot boxes, did not have stat affecting stuff in your
right?
loot boxes.
Mhm.
And I think I'm okay with either in different situations. Like obviously a competitive game like Overwatch, like FPS game, like obviously not cool if you have pay to win elements. A game like Diablo where you're not really battling people. I don't know. I guess I don't have interest in playing a game like that where you would pay to level up and then battle people. But it also makes a lot of money for Blizzard. So I can't see how Blizzard's going to be like, you know what? You guys said you don't want to play it. We'll stop making it. But then people are actually just playing it and it's bringing in over $1 million a day of revenue.
Right. It's like a gamble that they took, right?
I don't know. Like, I think what is the argument that it can exist? I guess is kind of the thing because everyone wants to say this is a terrible thing, but it's a game somebody put out with gambling elements. There's gambling elements on all kinds of shit. You can go gamble in a lot of places.
Right.
So, and I'm not saying that I think this is a great game or this is the way to play games. It actually frustrates me that this is the Diablo people want to play when I'm pretty sure you'd have way more fun playing. If I was going to play Diablo, I'd play Diablo 2 or Diablo 3, the Diablo 2 remaster.
Mhm.
But I just can't. It's like maybe that there's no good answer, but it just seems like the idea is to just remove all sort of chance in video games. And I don't agree with removing chance from games. It's,
Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you a
yeah.
question. Do you think this may be, and because Diablo Immortal is a free to play on mobile, do you
Mhm.
think things like loot boxes and like the paying to get certain loot, like that's a way to actually allow the game to make money? So would you consider that like do you consider that something necessary for a free to play game? Because it's not the only one that has those
Oh
elements.
yeah, yeah. I mean, in the free model, right? They have to have some kind of income generation.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, you come up against that wall, and you have to convince people to play better games. I guess if you don't like it, I don't.
Well, to me, it goes back to what you're saying about who decides whether this type of game can be made, right? And when it comes down to it, it's up to Blizzard to make that decision. They obviously made the conscious decision to make this game
Yeah,
with the model that they made it,
yeah,
believing that they would make money.
yeah.
And they're making a shit ton of money. So why would they stop? Even if they
Mhm.
have a bunch of criticism. They
Right.
made a game. If people are going to play it, they're going to play it.
Yeah.
I think, like Kudro was saying, it's a free to play. Like it's expected nowadays when you make a free to play game that you need some sort of income stream that revolves around microtransactions and loot boxes and stuff like that. Whether you decide to make those only cosmetics or not, I think is a big decision. But I think they were obviously going for something specific and they're sticking to their guns. I know that people were even when it first came out, it was like you need like what was $100,000 to unlock every single thing or something like that in the game. It was some outrageous amount of money to like
Yeah,
unlock
to get,
everything.
but this is like the FIFA Ultimate Team thing where they're like, oh, if you got the best team, you'd have to spend. But that's not how FIFA Ultimate Team works. If you
Right,
could just have every best player, the whole like grind and like evolution of your team is gone. Like that's the
right,
whole progression of the FIFA Ultimate Team. I
yeah.
it just
It rubs me the wrong way too, but I think it. You know, we live in a capitalist system, right? Where like you can make the game if you wanted to, and people are
yeah
going to complain about it probably, but they made it and they're making money, so you can't really like blame them. I don't blame them. I think
yeah right
if they're within legal boundaries, I don't think there's really anything you can complain about. I mean, you can dislike the type of game that they made and not play
right
it, which I
yeah
think is a good way of speaking with your wallets. We'll say,
right, which
which
isn't
has happened
happening.
before.
It seems like it
Right,
has like 10 million downloads or something.
right. And
So
maybe and all publicity is good publicity, right? So there's probably people that are like, oh, like I gotta go check
I
this
don't
shit out.
I
Like,
don't know if Blizzard and Activision think that right now. But
I mean, they've had so much bad publicity that like
yeah,
this is from their normal bad publicity. This is
right.
like
Yeah.
way up there, but
I,
it's weird.
I like the idea of like Diablo having rare gemstones that are hard to obtain and take a long time to grind to. But I do understand you get into gambling addiction issues. I just I don't know where the like proper line is or what to do with it. But and then you can say like, oh well, just make it a game where you pay $60 and then you don't pay any more, and that's fine too. But if it's a game where you're playing over the course of 2 years and it's got constant updates, that doesn't really work out in terms of a because there's always a
Revenue.
lot of frustration over games charging any sort of money. But it's like people forget for a game that gets continually updated, like that there has to be some kind of income stream for that. And I'm not saying they're all charging fair prices, but it is a thing. Like there has to be some kind of profit for them to keep updating games. And I feel like that gets like always washed out in the discussion of like, oh my God, there's a $30 skin. Don't buy it. Like I
Right.
just you don't have to have every skin in the game. Like that's not how it's designed. It's designed so you can have this cool thing. Look at this cool thing I got. And then Kudro's got a cool thing. Not as cool as my thing, but still pretty cool.
Right. I mean, you could make the argument that they exploit that, right? But
Oh,
I
for
think back,
sure. Oh, there's all kinds. Yeah, just like gambling does instead.
right.
Yeah.
But back to your point about how they're constantly updated, I do think that's a good point because when games came out a while ago, like you're still paying $60 for a game, right? But there was no patches, there was no live updates. Like once there was a glitch in the game, like that glitch was there to stay, and like you still paid the $60 for the game, knowing that they're not going to fix it. Nowadays, you still get charged. You still charge $60. Maybe it has gone up a little bit with inflation or whatnot, but
Yeah. Well,
now they're updating the
right.
game all the time, so they got to be able to pay their staff and their developers if they're going to continually pour resources and time into the game for just a $60 game. So I think the business model has to adapt, right? Maybe not to the level of Diablo Immortals, but I think there is a middle ground there.
Yeah, and I think if you want to play games super cheap, there is way more opportunity to play cheap games than there was 10 to 15 years ago. Like
Right.
there's
The
so
saturation is
many better
insane.
yeah, there's so many better video game sales. There's so many amazing 5-year-old games you can just pick up on a cheap sale for like $5. There's so many games you can play for free and you can spend little money or you can spend no money, honestly.
Right.
It's just cosmetic stuff you can't get. I so and I get people's frustration when it's like a $60 game and then you have like it's like a single player game and then there's some kind of microtransactions. I could see where that would be annoying. But I just think it needs to be measured with the fact that in some games, like I think it's okay to have like especially online service games, like I think it's totally understandable to have to buy things. Sometimes in games I would buy loot boxes in Overwatch just because I liked Overwatch. at one point I had a bunch of skins. I'm like, I'll buy $10 a box as this event just because I played the game a ton. And I just, but
Right. It's like a
yeah,
personal decision type of thing. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't recommend Diablo Immortal, but if you want to change it, you need to convince people to stop playing bad games. Like,
Right. That seems to be a problem in the gaming community where people complain about stuff and they continue to play it.
right. Yeah. Classic. All right. Well, I'm sure that topic will come up again in the future, but
I think so.
any other gaming entertainment news topics you guys got that you want to talk about?
I did see it today. I don't know if we talked about it previously, but they're in Elden Ring. There's a guy named Let Me Solo Her, which is essentially somebody that gets summoned that fights Melania for you, and he just wears a jar, and then he has I think 2 katanas, and so developers of Elden Ring from Software actually recognized the guy because I guess he hit a record for beating
3,000 or
something like that.
Yeah, 3,000 times. What did they give him?
So they gave him a bunch of the kind of merch. They gave him an actual sword. They gave him like a map of the lands between, and then a few other kind of goodies, I guess you call them. So
that's pretty cool.
That was kind of cool. Something that that shows that From Software actually cares about their community, which I think is pretty obvious from the game, but it's just cool that they're continuing to keep up with that trend. So
yeah, I ordered the there's a guidebook. It's actually 2 books for the game that has not come out yet. It got like delayed, and then it was on sale on Amazon for like $30 each, maybe 20. I think it might have been 30, but I bought both of them. So I think once I get those, I'm gonna get back into Elden Ring and continue up on my 160 hours and maybe finish the game.
That'll be a good time. Should I keep going?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't know if anybody follows Minecraft news, but a guy named Technoblade recently passed away. He was like a very big Minecraft streamer / content creator. He was 23 years old, I believe. He had cancer, not sure what kind, but so he just passed away, I think, last week. So there was a lot of kind of social media activity around him. Mojang even put out their own kind of testimonial and an Easter egg for that. So now in the Java launcher, his skin was like a pig with like a crown and like a royal pig with a crown, and so they added a crown to the pig in the Java launcher, which is kind of cool. I guess he was one of the most popular kind of streamers.
Yeah, I've heard of him before, but I've never seen anything of his stuff.
Yeah, I watched a few of his videos a while ago, but he put out a video either the day he passed away or the day after. It was called So Long Nerds, just kind of seems like he's taking a very humorous way of announcing that he died.
Wow.
I think the first line of the video is like, if you're listening to this, I'm dead, or something like that. So pretty morbid, but he had his dad make a video, and it's kind of cool. So I definitely recommend checking it out. It's on his YouTube channel. Yeah, it's like almost 70 million views right now. So
gotcha.
Lots of creators kind of giving their condolences and stuff like that. So kind of cool, but sad thing in the community. So see if anything else happens. I know a lot of people are doing like tributes on their servers and stuff like that. So
gotcha.
Always cool to see people come together like that.
Yeah, so the guy who bought Nintendo stock to ask about F-Zero.
Yeah, it was $40,000.
Real? That's how much it was? Jeez.
He spent $40,000 to get in with the board.
So I saw that story, but what did they answer?
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't see. I
just saw
but I just saw the headline. I was like, oh my god.
Because I would like to play another F-Zero.
I've never played, so
it's a fun game, but just wait till the new one comes out.
When?
Never.
I do find it funny that Captain Falcon is probably more famous in Super Smash Bros. Than he is in his own game.
Right. That's the only way I know
do you,
him.
that might have been true on the GameCube. Like, I don't know if F-Zero on the N64 and GameCube was that popular. I think in Melee he might have been more popular from Super Smash Bros.
Probably. I mean, they have some levels in other Nintendo games, like in Mario Kart, they have an F-Zero map, a race track, and then in Melee they have like I believe it's like a training course or something like that, right? That involves the cars, and they have a stage that involves the
Mute City.
F-Zero
Well,
cars.
there's Mute City. There's Big
Right.
Blue. Is that all? Do they have another one?
I think so.
I think later on they get another one.
Yeah, I think in Ultimate there's like 3.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with
stages,
those.
but
Wow,
I don't know.
gotcha. Yeah. Any more news stories from you guys?
If you're in Las Vegas this weekend, Mr. Beast and Ninja are partaking in a League of Legends, I guess, tournament.
What? Just 2 of them?
Yeah, I guess
1v1
Beast,
League.
No, it's they draft like a team. So like, so it's gonna be a bunch of like content creators and streamers.
They draft. Okay.
Yeah,
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, Mr. Beast, I guess, challenged Ninja on Twitter. So that's taking place. It's a free event, and I guess you get like a nice like HyperX goodie bag if you go. So you get like a keyboard and mouse, and then some other merch and stuff like that if you go. That's in Las Vegas, I believe, on Saturday. So I'll probably check that out this weekend, see what's happening. Because
I'll watch it. I'll watch them play League against each other.
One of my friends who I play Valorant with, he's actually played League of Legends with Ninja in one of his games. I think he played against him, and he said he wasn't good. So it could be a fair match. I don't think Mr. Beast plays League of Legends. So
oh man,
we'll see.
Yeah. All right then. Yeah, that's all we got for this week. So email your comments or questions to srankmediaclub@gmail.com. As we said earlier, next week's group media experience is Stranger Things Season 4 Part 2. So we're going to go in depth on spoilers and analysis of Season 4 Part 2. Watch it before next week. And additionally, July is our month of Monster Hunter World on the PC. So we played a little bit over the past week, and we'll be playing a lot more Monster Hunter here. Maybe give brief early thoughts next week, and then we'll do our full at the end of July. I've played a good amount of Monster Hunter before. I spent some time like getting back into it, and that game has controls of its own. But I'm starting to get used to the systems again. I am having fun getting back into it. I never finished the whole game originally, so. And then Quinn and Kudrow have not really played it at all before. So we're kind of really going to start working through that here the next 2 weeks. If you want to jump in with us, join our Discord server. We'll be playing Monster Hunter. And you can find me on Twitter at Boltron City. We stream this show live every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific time. The audio version of the podcast uploads to podcast feeds Friday mornings on all podcast platforms. If you like the show, please give us a follow on Twitch or YouTube and subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. And we'll see you next week.
See you guys.